I think it's important to understand how to be alone and really connect to your own identity and understanding what you really want in this world. Because for me personally, the beginning of my journey of healing, I had to release and let go of a lot of people, and I had to disconnect from people that I really loved and I really cared about. And in the beginning, I didn't understand why, and it was very painful. So I didn't understand why I had to release so many people, or why I had to release and let go of so many connections that were my everything. But I realized the reason why I had to release and let go of those connections is because they were my everything and I wasn't a part of that everything. And I think that me growing into the individual I am today, the start of my healing journey was when I was like 20 years old, and I'm 28 years old now. And me understanding today that I wouldn't be the person that I am, I wouldn't think the way that I think, I wouldn't understand myself as deeply as I understand myself if I was still in those different connections, if I still had those same people around me, if I was still in those same circumstances or predicaments. And that's why I believe that everything happens for a reason, and you just have to trust the process and allow yourself to flow with that process, and allow yourself to step back and feel what you need to feel and understand what you need to understand from those different dynamics. Because being so-called isolated is painful, and it is unfamiliar when you've connected to so many different people or whatever the case may be. But I think it's important to understand that being isolated or being in a space of when you need to be alone is very important and essential for you to truly understand who you are at a core level, for you to release and let go of all of the projections or all of the fears or all of the confinements that you have placed on your life from you just being authentically yourself. Are you not feeling safe enough to be your authentic self? Are you not feeling safe enough to understand who you are and really show up as that? And granted too, in my past, I showed up as myself, but there was big parts of me that I was pushing down in order to make other people feel comfortable. And I think that me being isolated, or me being removed from spaces, or me being released, or other people disconnecting from me, or whatever the case may be, was really a part of my protection. Rejection is a part of protection, and really understanding that as well. Is very important when it comes to the healing journey, and when it comes to so-called being isolated as well. Understanding that when you are alone, that it's time for you to truly connect to and understand what is right for you and what you really deem as success, or what you really deem as valuable, or what you really deem as worthy. Because for me personally, I grew up in environments where success, the idea of success, was having a house, having a family, being married, and or finding love, or having kids, or whatever the case may be. And I've seen that as success because everybody else seen it as success. But the reality is that I don't conform or confine to what so-called society norm looks like. I walk down the street and I see people, and they come out their houses and they talk to their neighbors, or they mowing their lawn, or whatever the case may be. And thinking of being that within my own life, thinking of owning a house and staying there for years and years and years, and knowing a neighbor, and all these different things, is, when I think of doing that, that brings me depression. And that brings me a sense of confinement. And for me personally, the only thing that I want in my life that is completely stable is financial abundance and connections. When it comes to having a wife, and that's not even really the societal norm or whatever the case may be, because it's me being a lesbian. So I think for me personally, I don't really conform to what is the so-called societal norm on any level, except for understanding that I want to be financially stable, or understanding that I want to be married one day and I want to have kids. But for me, stability looks different because of how I was brought up. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I moved around a lot. I was in foster care. I was in a form of foster care even before I was in foster care, moving around house to house in a small town where a lot of people knew everybody. So it was more so like, them just helping my mom out. But for me personally, me growing up and being on my healing journey, I realized that what stability looks like for me does not look the same as what a societal norm of stability looks like. And so for me personally, I think that is more so me being able to truly be alone and really finding myself and connecting to myself and really asking myself what true success is. I realize that I think different from a lot of people, and I think different from what a collective of society thinks, like when it comes to stability, or when it comes to also what real love is and real connection is as well. Because a lot of people are okay with certain things that, I'm not necessarily okay with conforming with or dimming down for. And I don't think it's anything wrong with the way other people think. I think it's for everybody to think the way that they're supposed to think in this society. And I don't want to change other people's minds, and I don't want other people to try to change my mind either. I think that we're all meant to think the way that we're meant to think and grow as much as we are meant to grow. But I think it's important not to allow other people to make you conform, or make you think a certain way, or make you think that it's only one way to do things. Really being an individual and allowing yourself to understand what is real for you, and creating that and making that happen, no matter how long it so-called takes. Allowing yourself to be in a space of really knowing yourself and being unwavering with who you truly are, and not trying to waver or move or be shaped or molded by somebody else's identity or somebody else's ideal of what they don't even necessarily believe within themselves. It's just a collective thought, so that's why they think it's right. And I think it's important to really understand your own truth and bring that to life, and be patient with bringing it to life as well. And also allowing yourself to look in the mirror and break down anything within you that makes you feel like you're not capable of doing that or capable of being that. Breaking down the illusions that hold you back from truly flowing and creating and co-creating the life that aligns with your highest good. Because I think when it comes to depression, I think that has a lot to do with not allowing yourself to completely express yourself within, because I am a spiritual person, and I think a lot of, in the way that I think is in spiritual terms sometimes. When it comes to depression, for me, that is about not allowing yourself to be balanced within your masculine and feminine energy. And I also think that has a lot to do with anxiety. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not speaking in a way that is trying to diagnose or trying to, help you through those different terms. But for me personally, what worked for me and how I continue to move through life and not allow depression or anxiety to overtake me in any way is by me understanding it in this way. And that's why I'm explaining it like this. But when it comes to depression, for me personally, I think that has a lot to do with being misaligned or being imbalanced within your masculine and feminine energy, and not allowing yourself to flow or take power in what you need to take power in, or within your own identity and how you show up in the world. So for me personally, when it comes to depression, it has a lot to do with not being rooted in your own identity, or not allowing yourself to be in a flow state of your creativity, or not allowing yourself to shine in moments where you're meant to shine. And when it comes to anxiety, for me, I think that has a lot to do with your upper chakras, which is your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown chakra. And I think that has a lot to do with you not being able to express yourself or speak up or trust yourself and trust your inner guidance, or not being able to be in your own body and allowing yourself to either be too much in your masculine energy or too much in your feminine energy, to where you're not in your body, or where you're too much outside of your body and you're not grounded within your own individuality. And I think that's important to understand. So I think in order to take your power and your control back, or allowing yourself to be in a flow state, it has a lot to do with you understanding who you really are and standing in that truth. And no matter who is trying to project onto you, or no matter what life is trying to show you at that time. Because I also think it's important to understand, when it comes to life, you have to kind of be stubborn, and you have to be in a space of understanding that your life circumstances is not your forever thing unless you give it power to be your forever thing. Because life is forever changing. You can always count on life to forever change. And I think it's important to understand, if you want it to change and shift in your favor, you have to have a little faith, and you have to put forth action, or put forth, because action doesn't always look like you're moving. Sometimes action looks like you breaking down trauma within you. And sometimes that doesn't look like anything on the outside of you. And so I think that's important to understand as well. But the more you break those cycles, is the more your life is going to shift on the outside of you, even if it's small shifts. Even if it's a shift of you having finally the clarity to understand where to place certain people in your life, or you finally having the clarity on what move you need to make.